In this video, I'll be doing some 2x2 example solves along with some of the best solvers in the world. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'll put your channels up here for the viewers to check out. And the Scrambles are in the description, so let's just get started.
So for the first scramble, the first thing I saw was that on green there was a 2-move layer into this not too great CLL case. So then I also looked at yellow, which is what I ended up going with. Basically, you can just do 4 moves into diag pi, and then there's a bunch of different ways you can cancel. But here, what I did was doing F, R, U prime, R2, F prime, R2, U, R prime, U2.
So on this first scramble, I saw that on yellow here. So if you just do this yellow side with F and then insert this corner with RU to R prime, it just gives you diag pi. And you can just cancel and do that like this, and then U2 AUF. So pretty simple, but happy I found that.
Before I begin, a big congrats to you, Quinn, on hitting 1k subs. And yeah, let's just get straight on to the walkthrough / I guess recons. 1.01. So on this first solve here, I looked at a couple of solutions. The first thing I looked at was this 2-move layer on green into this pretty alright CLL, but it was a lot of moves and I didn't love it. And then the second thing I checked was here on yellow. You can just do F, R, U2, R prime into this really nice EG1, and it actually cancels quite a bit of moves. So I could just do F, R, U prime, R prime, and just go straight into this. Finish with a U2 AUF, and the time was 1.01, my best solve of the average.
Okay, so for this first solve, I got a 0.89 down solve on this. So the first thing that stood out to me was these 2 green blocks, and you can just make a layout of them really easily, like this. And then you can cancel into, this is, for me, I use Sexy Sledge Soon for the CLR, but instead, I saw on yellow, we have a 4-move EG1 phase. We can insert this corner, and insert this corner like this, to get this really nice EG1 case. And you can also cancel into this, and how you would do that is you do F, kind of insert this corner, and insert this corner with a U2 AUF. So that's a really nice solution, which is also pretty finger trickable.
This was the first scramble. The first thing I saw was that there were these 2 bars on green, and they can make a layer in 2 moves, but that wasn't a great case. So then what I saw was on yellow, there was 1 move into this sort of EG1LS thing, where you basically insert and cancel into this case. Although there's multiple ways you can do it, so the one I decided to go for was like F, R prime, F prime, R, and then inserting this corner, and then this corner, U2 AUF.
And so this is the first solve. The first thing I saw was on the green side, just 30 moves into the solve, which isn't the best. So instead, I did the yellow side. So just F, then insert this, which gets to this case. And so instead of just doing this and then ALG, you can cancel all the moves. And so just F, O, U prime, O prime, then insert this, then insert that.
For the second scramble, I saw that on green there's 1 move into this not too great TCL, or you could also do like F2, RU prime, R prime, and you can cancel into this EG1, which is actually pretty good. But then I also looked at white and saw you could either do R prime F2 R into this decent TCL, but it's not at the right angle. And then you can also do U, R prime, FR, and then you can cancel into this algo, which starts with sledge. So that would be like doing U, R prime, F2, R, F prime, U2, R, U2, R prime, U. But here I ended up doing like the other 2-gen angle of that. So basically what I did is I held it here and did like F, R prime, F2, R, F prime, R2, U, R2, U prime, R.
Okay, so on this scramble, I was looking at this bar mostly, and I saw on green, you could just do kind of a long layer solution, but it gives you a nice CLO case. So from here, just UR, and then back insert this, and then it gives you this very good CLO, UAUF.
.63. So on the second solve here, I just saw this like big green-white block, and I decided to do 4 moves into EG1 here on green. I just did F2, R, U prime, R prime, and it cancelled straight into this EG1 with a U prime AUF, and my time was a 1.63, my worst solve of the average.
This was the second scramble. The first thing I saw was that on green there was one move into this TCLO, which is alright, but I kept looking. And then I saw on white there was two moves into this TG1, which cancels one move. So the full solution is doing like a U, and then R prime, F2, R, F prime, and then inserting this corner with RU2, R prime, and UAUF.
For the second solve, I got a 126 on this. I could see a few nice TCLO layers, like this one, or even this one. However, I've got like half of TCLO, unfortunately, so I couldn't really use them. So what I ended up going with was this, I think it's a 7-move layer on green. So just insert this corner, but before inserting this, just add a U move, then insert this corner. And by doing it from this angle, it sets up this CLO from the right angle, so you can just go straight into it with a U, A, or F.
This is the second solve. So what I did was on the right side, I did the TCLO side. So instead of doing this, which gives an okay case, I did it like that because it can cancel into the solve. And so I just did U, O prime, F2, O, F prime, and just insert that.
For the third scramble, I saw that on yellow you could do one move into this not too great EG1 LS, and then I also looked at green and saw you could do one move into this EG1 LS, but it's not too great either. So then what I also looked at was doing like R prime, F prime, R, and then you can do U straight into this TEG with no UF, so that's what I ended up going with. Basically the full solution is holding here and doing R prime, F prime, R, U, R2, U prime, R, U prime, R prime, F, R, F prime, R.
So on this scramble, I was really only looking at kind of two side options, one of which was on green, doing a layer like this, but then it's not very good. And then the other one is what I ended up doing, which is yellow, which is just like R prime, and then insert this corner here. So that's what I ended up doing. And then the EG1 case is pretty bad. So this is kind of where my my lack of 2x2 knowledge is starting to hurt my solves here, but it's all right. So it's not like a terrible solution. I still got like 1.4, but you know, there's definitely better ones on here. So yeah, my solution was like that for the side, and then I do this solve for the CG1 with a U prime AUF.
152. On this third solve here, I looked at a couple of solutions again. The first thing I checked was 5 moves on yellow into this EG1, but honestly I didn't really like that at all. And then the other thing I checked was here on green. You can do R prime, U prime, R2, U, R2 into this EG1, which is pretty good, and also goes straight into it like this and finishes with a U2 AUF. The time was a 1.52, which is pretty good for the solution.
This was the third scramble. The first thing I saw was that on yellow, you could make a face like this or like this, but they both weren't great. Then I saw on green, you could make a bar in one move like that and then solve the layer like this, but that also wasn't great. And what I ended up going with was if you insert this corner, it sets up a TG. In this case is quite nice. It's just like R2, U prime, R, U prime, sledge, R, and an OUF.
This is the third scramble. I got a 142 on this, and I saw 2 ways to do this yellow face. You could insert this corner, and then you can either insert the corner like this or like this, but unfortunately they give the same EG1 case, and this one kind of sucks in my opinion. So what I ended up going with is on green, you can do a 5-move EG1 face by doing 2 moves setting up to this case, where you can insert the corner like that, and then you can just go straight into this really nice EG1 case.
This was the third solve, so it isn't that great of a scramble, but I did it on the yellow side. So just insert this, and then insert this, which gives an okay case, but it can cancel. And so it was like this. So I just did this, and then O, U prime, O prime, F prime, and then just solve this.
For the fourth scramble, I saw that on blue you could do 2 moves into this anti-LS, but here the AUFs aren't too great. And I also looked at yellow and saw you could do 1 move into this EG1LS, which is also not too great. But then what I ended up going with is I did like U, R prime, F prime, and then you get this LS, and then there's like an alternate alg you can do. So basically if you do like U, R2, F prime, R, then you can get hedge R, U to R prime, and then here there's U2, AF. So that's what I ended up going with. Basically the full solution is holding here doing U, R2, F prime, R, F, R prime, F prime, R2, U2, R prime, U2.
On this scramble, basically the only thing I one-looked was this yellow side, which is 3 moves. So like that, but it gives you this EG1. So I hold this one with the bar in front for EG1. And then I do kind of like anti-EG1, which is just like this. So hold this here, and then cancel into flip, and then U prime AUF.
143. On this fourth scramble here, I decided to do just this 3 moves on yellow into this EG1. However, I decided to do it from like where I have the bar in front here, so I could do anti-EG1, and it led to a really nice and spammy solution. So what I just did was R2, U prime, R, U, straight into this anti-EG1, cancelling into the opposite EG1, finishing with R2, B2, R2 with a U prime AUF. The time was a 1.43.
This is the fourth scramble. I got a 143 on this. The first thing I saw was a 3-move face, like this, and that gives you this EG1 case, where you can actually do anti-EG1 from this angle, where you do like this nice EG1, and then cancel into, well, what I would do is R2, F2, R2, and then U prime AUF. However, I kept looking, I saw this 4-move face on blue, like this, and that gives you this EG1 case. Now you can do this from a couple angles. One angle you can do it is from this angle, where you kind of do R, F prime, U prime, R2, U2, and then you get this LEG1, which is actually pretty nice because you can kind of just go right into it. However, what I actually ended up going for was just doing EG1. So you hold it like this, and you do U, R prime, U prime, F2 to insert this, and then U, and you just get this really nice EG1 case with no post AUF.
This was the fourth scramble. I saw a few things on yellow, such as inserting this EG1 and some other stuff, but it all wasn't too great. So then I saw this 4-move EG1 face here on blue that sets up into this case. And for this EG1, I know an alg that goes like B, U prime R2, F2, U prime F. And what you can do is, if you solve the face like this, so that the face is on the front and the bar is on the left here, you can start the alg with an R move instead, and the rest will all be the same, except AUF, which will be on the R layer. And that ended up cancelling, so it was like an R prime, U prime, F, and then instead of doing an R prime, I cancelled into the alg by doing U prime, and then R2, F2, U prime, F, and the AUF was a U, so that becomes an R.
This was the fourth solve. The scramble isn't the best, but what I did was on the red side, I saw you can pill up this and then just insert this, and then it cancelled into this alg. So what I did is did F prime, U, R prime, U prime, and then just did this alg, but just like that, and then the U prime AUF.
For the fifth scramble, I saw that on blue you could do 1 move into this TEG, but here it's not too great. And then I also looked at orange and saw you could do this pre-made LS, which is pretty good if you just do like R, U prime, R prime, U2 into this TCL with the U prime AF. But what I ended up going with was this pre-made EG1 LS on white. So basically, if you just do U2, you can do the alg and you finish with the U prime AF. So basically, the full solution holding it here is doing U2, R2, U, R2, U2, R, U, R prime, U prime.
And on this last solve, I was not really, so yeah, I couldn't really find much on this. I ended up opting for just this 3-move side into a pretty bad case, but I was able to execute it pretty well. So just like this, just insert, and then you get this case, U prime AUF. So, you know, pretty simple stuff, but pretty effective.
1.39. Alright, so here's the last scramble here, and with all these blocks and bars and everything, I was kind of tripping for a bit. But I first looked at this solution here on orange, R2 U prime R2 into this LEG1, which would actually be pretty good and would flow quite nicely. But the solution I ended up going with was here on white. I just did R U R prime straight into this EG1 like this with a U AUF. It was a nice and spammy and very smooth solve, and the time was a 1.39 leading to a 1.45 average of 5. Thank you so much, Quinn, for having me in your video. My average might not have been the best, but at least hashtag no down solves needed. Take that, JJ.
This was the 5th scramble. I saw a few bars like these ones on orange and white, and I first looked at inserting into this EG1, and then I saw on orange there was this pre-made LS, which is just an insert into this 2-gen TCLL, and so I looked at the other 2-gen angle and looked at some things like inserting into this LEG or doing an insert like that into this LEG, which also cancels, but I just ended up going for the LS solution.
Here's the last scramble. There's quite a few good things on here. Firstly, there is a 3-move face on white, which gives you this EG1 case. Also, on orange, you can do R2 U prime R2, and you get this LEG1. And because this is a diag on top with the LEG1, I know that I can have a 2-gen solution. So I looked at trying to insert this corner in different ways to create a 2-gen TCLL, because I do know a lot of those. And luckily, if you just do the most basic insert in R U prime R prime, you get this TCLL, which is just twist the corner normally. So R U prime R prime U, R U prime R prime with the U prime AOF. And I was able to turn quite well on that and get a 0.89.